Yeah, happy to. So we actually, thanks to Rick, we changed sort of our processing website page, and you can actually see we updated each Monday morning, and you can see the specific exam center when they're scheduling exams. But just to sort of give you a broad overview, the Bay Area is probably the worst backlog we have at the moment. And so those individuals who are assigned to go to our San Jose Test Center, I encourage you to email our exams email to get a reschedule here in the Sacramento area. Just to give you sort of an idea, I believe in San Jose, I'd have to check on the website, but I believe in San Jose right now, you're going to be waiting until January. But if you request to get a reschedule to the Sacramento area, and that's free of charge, you're about a month out. This is similar. There's a similar situation in Southern California. If you're assigned to Oxnard, you're going to be waiting until early into next year. Whereas if you're okay traveling to our Norwalk Test Center, we'll get you in about a month. And again, those are updated every week on our website.
Yeah, one of the things to remember with COVID is our test centers, we've had to cut their size down in half. We can only use every other spot. So we've gone from 2 to 3 different times we give it per day. So we've extended into the evenings now to try to make up for that, but we're not able to give as many exams per day as we were before COVID. So we're doing our best to get those backlogs down. And the other thing I'll mention too, I mentioned at the top, is it's not unusual for people not to show up for their exams. So if you're willing to roll the dice, and it really is rolling the dice, there's a very good chance, there's a chance that if you showed up on any given day at a test center, that there could be an open spot for you. So if you're willing to invest the time to drive to a test center, maybe not Oxnard, maybe not San Jose, but to one of the other test centers, if you've got the time to spare, there's a chance you could get in. If that's the goal, to try to get this taken care of, that might be worth rolling the dice. Justin, am I right about that?
Yes, it's a lot like flying standby, and when you go to the airport. I would say Norwalk, Sacramento, San Diego, and Fresno. And especially if you just got one exam, I give you really good odds you're going to be able to sit down and take it. If you've got 2 exams, that's going to be a stretch, and you're probably going to have to get turned away. You could take one that day and then come back another day. But at those facilities, usually we can take about 1 or 2 walk-ins a day at those facilities because someone doesn't show up.
Well, good. We're down to 95 people watching, so there's a good chance that you're getting tips here that the average applicant doesn't get. So use that if that's something you want to get anxious. I'm surprised, and sometimes we get surprised that people will miss their exams, or they want to push down the test further out. So there's the chance we can make it work. Okay, next question is: I am an interior designer, designing and managing projects, including managing contractors and their schedules. Do I need to get a general contractor's license? What do you think, Anna?
Yeah, so you would want to read the description for that, but it looks like it looks like, yes, depending on the work that you do, if it's over $500, you will need a contractor's license.
Okay. Yeah. Next question. They are taking the trade exam for the B. They already passed the business and law exam, but they're finding it difficult to pass the trade. Any tips or suggestions on how to prepare for the B?
I would say definitely use that study guide. My father will hate this, but my father had to take it 3 times. And what I would say is, I think there's a lot of anxiety in the trades about taking tests. And a lot of times, because I actually have administered exams, I would say a quick trip to the restroom and a deep breath is sometimes a good idea, because I think anxiety can get really high, and then silly mistakes happen, which can be avoided. But I would say go through that study guide, and I think, if you've hit those marks in the study guide, I think you're going to be in a really good position to pass the exam. And then I would just say on test day, just stay calm, and if you need a break, take a break. You got 3.5 hours. There are people who need that full 3.5 hours, but that really is uncommon. And so I would take a break if you need to.
Yeah, the other thing I'd say too is just remember that we're testing for a minimum competency. You don't have to get an A on the exam. You got to pass. So, and our goal is we just want to make sure you can meet the minimum requirements to be a good contractor. So we're not expecting you to be perfect, but we're expecting you to be good and to study and hang in there. You'll get through it. You'll get through it. Okay, next question. Can I get the license and my husband only be an RME, or should I do a partnership or LLC? Well, there's a lot of different ways you can go, a lot of different requirements there. I'd say obviously the easiest way, I mean, if your husband's going to be your qualifier, but you want to be the person or you want to have him as the person. The biggest thing is the qualifier. And we mentioned at the top of the presentation is we do not license individuals, we license businesses. And each business has to have a qualifier. Now, a lot of contractors are just one person operations, so the qualifier is the person. So you may get tricked into thinking that we license individuals, but we license the companies. So as you're starting out, figure out who's going to be your qualifier. Then you can go from there and figure out, okay, is this going to be a sole ownership where he's a responsible managing employee? Is he going to be a corporation where they're going to be an officer? Just how you want to work out, figure out your business plan. Guys, anything to add on that one?
I just wanted to say with the LLC, a lot of people forget when they're applying, there's a limited liability coverage requirement, and some people want the LLC and maybe a corporation's a better idea or a sole ownership's a better idea. It really depends on your circumstances. But I know we have applicants, and we can walk it back. We have applicants who want to be an LLC, and then they look at the price tag for some of that insurance coverage, and rightfully so, want to change their business model. We'd prefer you think about that before you apply, but if you find yourself sort of in that situation, we can work with you.
Guys, I see we got about 20 minutes left. I see we got the questions keep coming in, so we're going to try to pick up our speed here and keep our answers as tight as we can, and hopefully we'll get as many of these taken care of. I'm an employee that's worked for an out-of-state company who does not have a California license. I also have a side company. I'm a sole proprietor. How can I go about the certificate of experience? So out-of-state company and then side work they're doing on their own. Anna.
Sure. So does it not have to be somebody who that you worked for? Anybody can certify your work experience. Even somebody who is out of state who is willing to talk to us, they can complete your work experience form. It doesn't have to be. Again, if you're a sole proprietor, you have your own side company, just review the acceptable documentation forms that we discussed. There was a link in the presentation, just in case you were selected to later provide that additional documentation. You'll see what documents we are willing to accept.
Okay, next question. Is there a specific license to be a handyman in California? No, there is not. There is what's called a handyman exemption. So jobs that are less than $500 in material and labor can be done without a contractor's license. Don't take bigger jobs and cut them down into $499 pieces. If you get caught, you're looking at a potential of criminal misdemeanor charges. So $500 exemption, jobs under that, you don't need a license, but jobs bigger than that, you need to have a license. There's no handyman license. Don't go and get a business license and say you got a handyman license and show that number and make it look like it's a contractor's license. That's potentially a felony. You don't want to go down that road. Okay, next question. Would I still be able to apply for a license without the education? Yes, I do. On the other hand, have 8 years of work experience. Also not sure which section my position would fall in. They do installation of racks. Not entirely sure what that means, but no, you do not have to have any education at all, no degrees. We just talk about that because you can apply it to the education experience. If you've got all of your experience on the job, you're golden, good to go. Okay, next question. Do only permitted projects count as owner-builder experience for the B license?
For the most part, yes. Yeah, I would say 100% yes. There are these rare exceptions. I've seen 1 in 2 years, so yes.
I'm applying for a C12 grading and paving license. Does my company name need to have grading and paving in the company name? If yes, does he need to rename his business license? You guys are obviously much better than I. I'll just say is No, it does not have to have grading and paving, but you can't have in there that you're doing flooring or solar or something. It's got to, if you use some kind of a description, it's got to apply to the kind of classification you have. So you could put, Joe Smith Incorporated. Doesn't even have to have grading or paving in there, and that's fine. Okay, does 5 years as a senior maintenance worker for the city's public works departments qualify as experience?
We get this one a lot. I need to see the duty statement, and I'll want to talk with the applicant. The technician will want to talk with the applicant to get a better sense of what that means, because that means a whole lot of things for a whole lot of different cities.
Good morning, Ken. A business entity seeking a B license, can you have multiple qualifiers to get the experience? I'd say no, only one qualifier per classification. Okay, would a business name Joe and Sons Construction imply multiple owners? In other words, can Joe and Sons Constructions use the entity as sole ownership? Yes, you can. Yes, I'm seeing a no, a head shake no. I'm seeing a head shake no.
If you have a sole ownership, it can't be misleading. Joe and Sons gives the impression that you have more than one person. So remember, it has to be compatible with the entity, and also with, so if your entity is a sole proprietor, it can't say Joe and Sons.
Okay, if we have a C27, is it true that 4 years experience required for the A class would need to be in other construction areas than landscaping? Yeah, this was somebody earlier that asked about a C27. They wanted to add in an A. Your experience to get the A license would have to be doing A type engineering construction work. The C27, I guess maybe retaining walls or something, may have a little bit of engineering in it, but for the most part, it's got to be experience that's specifically tied to the work that the A is going to be doing. Okay, if my husband has an active B license, can we open and apply for an additional tile flooring license in a partnership with a new partner at a separate company? So they've got a B license, they want to go into business with somebody else in a flooring company.
I need some more facts, like if that other general partner has that experience. Has your husband had his B license for the last decade and more recently is focused on tile work, so he's got that experience? There's a lot that goes into that question, so I'd have to get into the specifics.
Okay, well, you've got Justin's email. Maybe you can drop him an email and he'll get back to you on that. The next question asks a little bit more about the translator, the requirements, the basic things, and to jump in if I'm forgetting something. The thing is, you have to do it well in advance. Let us know that you're going to you would like to use a translator. You supply the translator. All they're going to be able to do is to read the exam to you. So the biggest thing is you got to get that approved in advance. Don't just show up for the day of the test with translator. Okay, my husband is a contractor for a company for 15 years, but I'm trying to get a contractor's license. Since he's not good at talking with customers, he wants me to become the boss and start a business. What's the best license to getting the start? Well, in this case is, remember, think about the qualifiers. Is he going to be the qualifier? If then you go down what we just talked about, responsible managing employees, figure out how you're going to set up that business. He also does have to have the direct control and supervision if he's going to be the qualifier. So there's no reason that he couldn't have the license and qualify that license, and you could work technically under him, or you could be an employee or be a salesperson under his license. You might go that home improvement salesperson. That way you would be doing all the sales, but it would be under his license. For a corporation, do you need to have more than one personnel? No, one person can be a corporation. It's like a completely separate entity, so that's fine. If I understand correctly, my BA, Bachelor of Arts, would qualify me for up to 18 months. Since the bachelor's degree, 18 months, oops, is that right? Yes, that would be right, 18 months. Plus, if I'm able to get a sign off from a licensed contractor to verify permitted work within my own business, that would count towards the 4 years of experience. Correct, yes, that is correct. So you'd have to, what's that, 2.5 years? My math's a little not good.
Yeah, but I want to know what the contractor sign off on the work is, because there are plenty of examples of people who submit permitted work where they basically hired a contractor to do it. So that was a little bit in the details there.
Good point. Yeah, you please don't try to mislead us. The other thing is the rules are here for a reason. We want you to be successful. We don't want you to get in over your head. Especially we see that with the disasters around California. So we have contractors that are taking on jobs that are well above what they're used to doing. So we would hate to get you in a position where you're able to get that license, but you really shouldn't have it. And then all of a sudden people start having problems with you. They file complaints. Then we get involved, and then it's better not to go down that road. Get the experience, do it the right way. Okay. Please clarify, being a corporate officer of a licensed company, will I still apply for my own individual license? No, if you're going to be an officer on a corporation, you would get a corporate license and go in that direction. We got 10 minutes. We'll keep going here. Okay. I have worked farming for 8 years total. I've driven all kinds of trucks, hauling all kinds of trailers. I've driven tractors using attachments. I've worked pruning, maintenance, asparagus, blueberries, grapes. I've done irrigation. Worked for AT&T. Okay, so I guess he's trying to see, what kind of farming. And I think, Anna, you can say it again until we're red in the face, is really look back at the description of the license you're trying to get. Look at the kinds of jobs that they're expected to know. If you can show how you have experience doing that, then go for it. But if not, it might be a challenge. Some of these things, there's not too many jobs. I mean, there's not really a license besides a driver's license to drive a vehicle. So if that's the case, you may need to go work for a contractor doing the kind of work you want to, work with them, build up your experience, and get your own license.
Right, and we are looking for 4 years in the last 10 years, and so you say 8 years total. So you can combine experience. If you have 2 years, 8 years ago, and you have the last 2 years, you want to combine that experience, that's fine. You can have one certifier certify you for those 2 years and make a copy of the form, have somebody else certify the other 2 years. That's fine. We will look at all of that experience, but we are looking for 4 years in the last 10.
Okay, next, can a spouse you've been married to throughout your work experience vouch for you? I'll say no. I mean, it needs to be the person that is. I mean, you guys shake your head if you disagree, but it's got to be. Go ahead.
My wife knows I leave every day, but she doesn't know what I do when I get here. So.
Well, none of us are quite sure of that. Yeah. So, but the point is, though, it's got to be somebody who's got the knowledge, who's there on the job, and knows the experience. So, your wife, though she loves you, may not be the best person to qualify help you qualify your license.
And there's different categories at the bottom of the certification form. It says, if you're part of a union, if you have a business associate, a foreperson, somebody, a co-worker, somebody like that. There's different classifications at the bottom of the form. Now check out.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm concerned we're not going to get through the end here, but we'll keep going. For the B license, shall the certified, can documentation for anything they receive prior to 2010 be included, 2010? And I'd say on that one, no, it's got to be 4 years within the last 10. So anything you give us, we can't consider it. If we took a specialty license, do we need a degree? Pressure washing that, no, you don't need any. We talked about it. No education is required at all. What happens if you only pass the law test and not the trade test? Do you have to retake both? No, unless you wait too long and let that lapse and not get your license, you would then need to. But you guys tell me how many years they have in order to get the whole thing. 18 months?
Under normal circumstances, it's 18 months. Right now with COVID, we're being very sympathetic when it comes to that. So if you're coming close to that deadline, just make sure you reach out to me.
But Justin, aren't the results good for 5 years? So let's say your application is good for 18 months, right? So your application is good for 18 months. At the end of the 18 months, if you still don't pass, let's say you keep trying and trying and trying, you still don't pass, you can reapply. You're gonna have to go through the whole process again, experience everything, but your results are good for 5 years, so you won't have to take that examination again. You can just keep on coming back and trying to pass the one you didn't pass, and that's vice versa, right? Okay.
And it's absolutely correct. I'm sorry, I was thinking about voiding.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, I have a business corporation. I provide rental services with my tractor. With an owner operator, do I need a license? No, if you're just providing the equipment and a contractor rents your equipment or uses your equipment, but if you're an operator actually out there driving the equipment and participating in the construction activity, then you would need to have a license. But if you're just renting equipment to somebody else, then you would not need to have a license. Would I be able to wait until I pass my test to get my business license, or do I need to get my business license first? I'd say no, you don't need to get the business license first, but have the business name and then make sure when you go to get the business license that you've got that same name, that you don't go with some different name that you can't associate with it. Sorry. There's one that, okay, I'm sorry, we're running out of time, so I'm sorry, Luis, you got a question about an earlier question, but I don't know what the question was. Okay, does a full-time registered home improvement salesperson work count as work experience, like a journeyman, if the HIS was 1099? If so, what would be needed to prove the experience? If they have experience just being a salesperson, doesn't sound like they're doing the job. So if you're just selling the jobs, that's not the qualifications that we're looking for to get your own license. I only have an ITIN. Can they be used for fingerprints? Would they accept that as well? Yeah, ITIN or your social security number will get you the license. That works for the fingerprints as well. Home improvement salesperson. I'm a cabinet maker, would like to start a business selling cabinets with other cabinet makers. Can you elaborate on the requirements? The biggest thing is, I just kind of said this. If you're going to be doing the installation work, you need to be licensed. If you, in this case, if you're just making the cabinets and you're selling them to somebody else, a completely separate company that'll be doing the installation, you don't have to be licensed. The big thing where it kicks in is where you're actually going to be doing the installation, the construction work. So if I want the license to just be under my name, not a business name, what would I put in section 1 on the application where it says full new business name? Put your name. There's a lot of contractors that just use your name. That's fine. Just plug it in there. Can we get your email in case you want to reach out directly? No, you can only have Justin's email. Look at the bottom of the screen. You'll see is the spelling. It's justin.paddock@cslb.ca.gov. In a couple of minutes, though, we will give you some other email addresses you can hear as well. But do not reach out to Anna and I. Actually, no, you can reach out to. We're just kidding. Can you explain more about RMOs, RMEs? I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to guide you to the website. There's a ton of information that explains those. The main thing is the RMOs is the officer. So if it's a corporate, that's your qualifier who's not necessarily the owner of the company. They have to have some ownership. Responsible managing employees, that's an employee who will be a qualifier. Go to the website. There's a ton of information there. Do I need to make my... Okay, so we've answered a couple of these others. Corporate office we talked about. Oh, if they are going for a partnership, can one partner take the law test and the other take the trade exam? I'm seeing that it takes
no. One qualifier takes it all. We need someone. I mean, remember, Consumer Protection Agency. This is about protecting consumers. We need to make sure somebody speaking for the business has it all down.
Okay, percentage of, that you need to pass the test. It does vary. Just I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 70% for the most part.
It's across the board. There's as low as I want to say 64 for certain ones, and those get reset periodically pursuant to various laws.
Sure, but the main thing is minimum qualifications. You just got to get over the bar. You don't have to scale high over that bar. You just need to clear it. I worked for a company for 10 years. Do I need to take an exam? How would I be able to get a certificate of the type of work I do as an individual? Yeah, we've talked so much about this. You have 4 years of experience within the last 10 years. If you're not sure, look at the classification, see the types of work that you're expected to know about. If you can your experience and demonstrate your experience in those areas, then you should be okay. I've been registered with the state as a general journey electrician since 2012. Do I still need to have somebody fill out the work experience? Yes. I've been working for my father's landscape business for 6 years, but he does not have a license. Would the experience help to get the license? What would I need to get a new business name or keep what he's got? You guys can jump in. Documenting if you're unlicensed work.
So this is important. There's plenty of circumstances where someone's been doing work without getting a license. You don't want to meet Anna in her day job. So get your application in and we'll work on it. Anna and I don't share that information. It's not going to be used for any sort of enforcement action. We want you to get licensed. That's our focus. Get your app in. We'll start working on it.
Okay, that's about the last question. I'm kind of skimming through. The one question I do want to address, because we do say it, but it happens a lot. You don't want to, you're concerned about your current employer serving as your certifier. Again, they do not have to be a licensed contractor, somebody familiar with your work. If you've got a coworker, maybe a manager there, depending on how large the company is, it does not have to be the boss. But so that is how that goes. Okay, so
and just to put people at ease, there are plenty of circumstances where people are applying because they and their boss went their separate ways. We see that situation all the time. Get your application in. We understand that situation.
Yeah, the thing I think the bottom line is our goal is to try to help you document and to get that. We want you to have a license. We don't want you going underground and doing all the work, under the table and getting paid that way. We want you to be a legitimate company, contribute to the community, and we'll do everything we can to help you meet the requirements. But other than that, you help us out here. Do your part and make sure you can demonstrate that you actually do qualify. Okay, so that is all the time we have today for your questions. If you do have any other questions about the application, we encourage you to drop an email to our licensing division. We gave you Justin's earlier. Again, it's justin.paddock@cslb.ca.gov. We do have a general licensing email address, that is licensing@cslb.ca.gov. And at some point when you do get your exams, if you need to get to the situation where you're going to reschedule the exam, you can get that process started by dropping an email to exams@cslb.ca.gov.
We've also put together a list of available resources for women considering a career in construction. If you haven't already, be sure to download this presentation to get them. You can download the presentation on a green banner at the top of our homepage at www.cslb.ca.gov. If you're watching the archived video of this workshop on our YouTube page, you'll find a link to the presentation down below.
And that concludes today's workshop. An archived version, as Anna said, will be on our CSLB YouTube page. We also welcome your comments on future webcasts. Just drop us an email to social@cslb.ca.gov. Special thanks go, of course, to Justin and Anna. Thank you for all of your help today. Also, folks in our licensing and public affairs units for their help. The Get Licensed to Build workshop is a copyrighted production of the California Contractor State License Board. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.